All right. So this next assignment is already posted to the thing. Should be. And just another thing, don't forget, I have a couple turned in. Don't forget that's what you were typing earlier. Don't forget the questions. If you miss questions, go back and do them. Those are the only things that don't have due dates. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our controls. Okay, I don't have it posted. All right. Let me just put that up there. Upper and lower controls. And upload. And there it is. You all right? Okay. All right. So we're basically going to set up our controls. And this is how we're going to do this. And a lot of this, again, is very similar to what we've done in the past. So I'm going to create, and I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because, again, we've already done it, right? So I'm going to create my main circle. And this is going to be my placemate underscore CTRL. This is what puts the character in its starting point within the scene. It controls everything. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and delete my history because even on curves, there's history. And I'm going to go ahead and freeze my transformations. If I do that from here, I don't have to, worry about it on some of the others. I still have to freeze transformations, but I don't have to worry about deleting history because I'm going to be duplicating a lot. I'm also going to bring in a file that I need to actually put up here for you all. So let me just do that. I'm going to bring in a file that has pre-created control shapes. And what that is not here. I wonder if I have it here. Not there. Not there. Here we go. Oh, I had it on the no, it's not here either. This is what I get for leaving for a year. Can't find my controls. Let's try this. Okay, give me a second. It's not even here. Okay. wonder if I have it in the drive somewhere. There it is. That will not happen again. All right, so this is the file. I'm just going to download it, and I'm going to put it into my project directory. It's called Control MA 2009 version 4, right? So I'm going to put this in my biped character scenes folder. There it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to import this. I'm not going to, actually, you know what? I'm just going to delete this. I'm not going to reference it. I'm going to import it. So I'm going to file import. And here it is. Again, if you have to go searching for it, you know the words. And what this is a collection, like I said, of controls that are pre-made. You don't have to make your own. So for the place me, I'm going to use. So what I'm going to do is, as I go through these, I'm going to just select what I want to use, hit Control D to duplicate, and I'll move it into place. So this is going to be my place me. I'm not going to use the NURB circle. I'm going to use this shape. And it's named place me by default. I'm going to do place with a capital me underscore CTRL. Modify freeze transformations. It has no history, so you shouldn't have to delete history. So there's that, right? I'm also going to create a move me, which I'm going to use. I think I'll use this one for this time. I'm going to hide my geometry and duplicate that. I'm going to hold down V and just snap that to my cog. And then I'll bring my geo back. And this will be my move me, and I'll scale it to wherever I want it to be. And I'm just going to rename that move me with a capital M underscore CTRL and modify freeze transformations. Now for the feet, I have a couple of options. I can take this and duplicate, move that over, resize it. This is usually how I do it, but I'm not a huge fan of where the pivot is on this controller. So usually what I'll do is I'll hold down V and I'll move it there. Oops, sorry, DV. And I'll move it on the X to line up there, and I'll move it on the Z to line up there. I don't want to hold it for the center because I don't want my control to be above my control, or my pivot to be above the ground. I want it to be in line with the ground, right? Okay, so this is where I'm going to do my pivot. I might even center that more like that. or something like that, right? So it's centered. Know what I mean? Now, how do I get the other one? Well, Control D to duplicate that. Hold down DV, not DV, sorry, DX. Snap to the grid. And then scale on X, -1. So there's my other one. And we did this on the fish project in AM101 when you did your grouping from one side of the fish to the other. So you should know about how to do that, right? If you didn't, now you do. And again, freeze transformations. Just do it every single time so you don't forget. And I'm going to rename this foot underscore R underscore CTRL and foot L. So there's my feet controls. Easy. Now we need a hip control. I'm going to use this one. This is the one I usually use. Control D to duplicate. I'm going to hide my geo layer again. I'm going to snap that, hold down V, snap that to the cog. Right? So it's in line with this control. But I want to resize this. When you're making your controls, you want them easily selectable, you know, enough room from away from other controls, and you know, you don't want it too tight on the body, right? That's hard to deal with, right? If I had it this like this, when I bend the character, I'm not going to be able to select the control because it's then inside the character. You know what I mean? So you want to give it some breathing room. And I'm going to go to vertex. I'm going to shape this up because this is a hip control. So I want to make it look like and feel like a hip control. So I'm going to turn on my symmetry, if it'll let me. It's not letting me. So what I'll do is I'll just do both sides. And I'll move this down. And I'll rotate this up. I'm just kind of resizing this a little bit so it feels more like a hip control. I missed one there. I'll have to deal with that. So I'll lift this up. And let me get this back. Should be able to hold down C and snap it, just like that. There we go. All right, that'll do. That's fine. So there's my hip control. And it looks like something that would move a hip. Might scale it up just a little bit. Now, again, freeze transformations, and I'll name it hip CTRL. Now, for the spine, I am going to use a circle just because they're the easiest. I shall kill them if they don't quiet down. I'm kidding. All right, so I'm going to have 3 controls here. Huh? Are they distracting you?
Yeah.
Let me see. Where do I want my controls? If it goes on much longer, I'll deal with it. Now's a good idea.
No, he's Russian. AM204. This is species. Species.
All right, so I don't like how chunky this curve is, so I'm going to rebuild it. So I'm just going to go to the modeling menu set, curves, rebuild options, and I'll reset it. It's already reset. I'll do like 32, I guess. Nice and smooth. Yeah, that'll do. 16 probably would have been fine, but 32 is good. All right, so I'll put this here, and actually, I'm gonna line this up with this joint here. I don't need an entire. I don't need a controller per joint, but I'm going to have this one here. And what I want to do is I want to overlap this a little bit. I'm going to put this pivot a little bit lower, right? So, and there's a reason for that. We'll get to that here in a little bit. I'm going to put this between the cog and the first joint there. I'm going to duplicate this. I'll move it up. And for this one, I think I'll have it right there. I like where that is. And I'll just snap that just to make sure it's nice and on. Might scale that out just a little bit. And I'll duplicate that again, pull that up. And I'll go ahead and snap this right there. Scale that in a little bit. We have a little Christmas tree going on with controls. I might bring that down just a little bit. That's a little bit high. And then I'll move the pivot to that joint. I think that'll be okay. We'll see. I may have to adjust it. All right, now, from here we need a neck control. So I'm going to duplicate again. I'm going to center my pivot because I don't want these to be lower. I have a neck control. I'm just going to scale this down a little bit. I'm going to lower this. I'll align that a little bit. That's cool. Freeze transformations. And I didn't freeze on these, so I'm just going to hit G to refreeze on those. Hit G to freeze on that one. And I want to name these lower spine or lower torso is what I usually do. That's how I have it in my code that I need to use later. CTRL, mid torso, CTRL, upper torso, CTRL. This will be neck. And I'm going to duplicate this one, and I'll move this up, and this will be our head control. And I'm just going to align that a little bit. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hold down DV and snap that to the head. But it's hard to reach that control when it's actually aligned with that joint. So I'm just going to make this offset, right? It'll actually rotate from there, but you know, it'll be offset from it, right? So again, freeze transformations, call it head control. Now we create a jaw. We've done it before. Control D to duplicate. I'm gonna hold down, actually I wanna center my pivot and hold down V and snap it to the base jaw joint. Actually, I need to deal with this first. I'll reposition my pivot here in just a little bit, but what I want to do here, just like what I did last time, is I'm going to scale this a little bit larger, and then I'll scale it in. Just like I did last time, right click, go to edit point. Sorry, curve point. Right click, curve point. I'm just going to go up to the top, select one, to the side. Select one point, drag, and until it's highlighted, and then shift click a point on the other side, drag to as far to the left as I can go. I have 2 points selected, just like I did before. And then I'm going to go curves, detach. And that makes 2 curves. Now this actually did what I said could happen last time. See how I have white all the way around and then this little tiny piece of green here, right? This is one curve, this is another curve, and then there's this tiny little piece of curve right in there, right? This is what I was talking about where NURBs have a beginning point and an end point. So this little tiny curve, I'm just going to delete it. I don't need it. I also don't need that back curve, but I don't want that little tiny curve to be staying there, right? Okay, so now I'm going to reshape this just like we did before. I'm just going to select these end vertices, turn on some soft select, resize my brush, pull it up, rotate it down, create a little bit of a jaw control. I'm going to center my pivot. Bring it in. Like how perfect it is doesn't really matter unless you're me. Then I get a little bit anal about stuff. And then once I have it shaped up, I want to get it lined up. Modify freeze transformations. I don't have any history on it. And I want to hold down DV and go to the base jaw joint with that so that it rotates with the joint. And name it jaw control. Jaw underscore CTRL. Now, I'm going to save as real quick because I've done some work. I don't want to lose it. Now we're dealing with our shoulders, and we're going to do both sides, but not all together. I just want to make sure my I'm not going to do both sides here and now, but this is my shoulder. I'm going to hold down V, snap that to the shoulder, rotate it 90 degrees. And this is pretty good size for this, but this is going to be an FK control. Remember I talked about IK and FK? So I'm going to name this shoulder underscore L underscore FK underscore CTRL. Right? So we're going to have two different types of controls, one for FK and one for IK. And I'll talk more about that when we get into setting up the actual ARM control. Just do it as I said, and all will be well. Freeze transformations, duplicate, move that out to the elbow. I'll hold down V and snap it. For the FK elbow control, we're going to put it on the third elbow joint and name this one elbow LFK control. I do not need a forearm control. I simply need a wrist control. So I'm going to just duplicate, rename it, wrist LFK control. But we will also have, I'll go ahead and freeze transformations. We'll also have an IK control. So I'm going to duplicate that again, scale it a little bit larger, freeze transformations, and rename it. And I know I'm going quickly on this, but it's all in the video and we're running out of time. So we have wrist L IK and wrist L FK. I always put my IK outside my FK. It just feels better to me. That's up to you as to how you do it. And sizing looks pretty good. We also have a pole vector. So I'm going to use this control, Control D to duplicate it. And we already did pole vector before. I'm just going to hold down V, snap it to the middle elbow joint, move it back, rotate it 90 degrees, and scale it way down like that. Modify, freeze transformations, and name it ARM PV underscore L underscore CTRL. And I think the last thing is just a little hand control, which we have the eyes. I'll go ahead and do that. I'll just take all three of those, Control D to duplicate. Move those up and over. For the sake of placement, I'm going to group this and center my pivot because I'm happy with the placement of the eye controls within the main control here. I'm going to go to my front view and just get this nice and centered. I might hide my geometry, hold down V, and move that there, and then use Y to center that, and then just scale it down so that it's like that. Nice and centered on the character's eyes. Whoop. I want to rebuild it. I can rebuild it. Make it nice and smooth. And I'll name these EYE underscore L underscore CTRL, EYE R, CTRL, and EYE main. CTRL, select all three, freeze transformations. And then now the last one was the hand. And you want to do both sides, obviously. Here's the hand. Control D to duplicate. Move it over. Hold down V. Snap it to either the finger connect or the palm. rotate it into place. That's not what I want. Nope. On Y. There we go. That's what I was trying to do. And this is not a hand control to actually move the hand. This is what our finger controls are going to be connected to. So what we want to do is we want to have this kind of float above. I'm just going to hold down D and move my pivot to be in line with that. And, you know, it doesn't have to encompass the hand. It's best if it doesn't. But it looks like a hand, so I know that there's going to be hand controls on there. Modify center pivot, call it hand L CTRL and freeze transformations. If you're not sure whether or not you froze transformations, hide your geometry, select all, modify freeze transformations. And, you know, do both sides. And I think we want to have, we only have a couple of minutes left. So with all this selected, I'm just going to go ahead and Control G to group. I'm going to call it controls group. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this stuff. I don't need it anymore. I'm just going to delete it. I'll put my controls group into my Rodney group so that it's there. And all I really want to do here is parent, regular old parent, my move me to my place me. So select the move me, shift select the place me and hit P. And I want my cog to move with my move me. And that's going to be a constraint. Okay. So if I select the move me control, shift select my cog and constrain, parent, options, make sure maintain offset is turned on, click add. So as far as actual control is concerned, all I need to know is that it can do this. And if I move this, it can do that, right? So a simple parent constraint from the move me to the cog, and then regular old parenting from the move me to the place me. Okay, so that's going to be hierarchy. The place me should be above the move me in a two-part hierarchy, just like that. All right, and that's it. That's everything. So just to read through the assignment sheet real quick. This is due Wednesday. Set up our first two controls for our character. Read the introduction of the book, pages 141 to 147. Follow the lecture in the class. Name your groups and name the objects in the scene. Do not create another Maya project directory. Use your current project directory for this project. Check your joints orients for your character. Create the upper and lower controls for your character. Next, create one control that will control the root joint of your character. Make sure that the transforms of your controls are frozen and set to 0. The upper and lower controls will be parented to the root control. Use parent constraints to allow the control to move their respective joints. Again, this is only how I've done it. Okay. Controls should only affect the rotation of the joints that they are controlling. Just do what I did. Create 3 separate groups. One group will be for the geo. The other group will be for the controls. The last group will be for the skeleton. We've already done that Test your rig thus far. Make sure your controls are set to 0 when you submit your scene. Grading on this, if I remember correctly, it's 50 points, 5 for each. Root control created properly, upper control created properly, lower control created properly, groups for the rig created and used. All controls are named correctly. I didn't lock down. We'll deal with that later. Don't worry about it. You get free 5 points. All controls transformations are zeroed out. That should be. Same project directory, save and iterative versions, ask and answer questions in the critique. And that's due Wednesday. Setting up your controls, it's an easy one. Probably the easiest part of this whole thing. Right, Dan?
Probably.
Alrighty.
Unless you want to include like the basic rigs from before, but even
Have a
that
good
takes
day.
little bit of time.
You leaving me?